With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hello and welcome to the high banks of Hampton, Georgia's Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series. I am Dylan Coyle, joined alongside Derek Watson for this wonderful race, this wonderful night of, well, if you're watching the NASCAR Cup Series in action, you can also tune in here and watch some more Atlanta Super Speedway racing happen as in the daytime, though. It's night right now, but it's in the day on Sim. Happy to have you joining us here on RaceSpotTV. Again, Derek, happy to broadcast our first race together. Terry Radford couldn't make it tonight, but your thoughts on the craziness of Atlanta?
Craziness is a good word, Dylan. It's fast, it's crazy, it's a super speedway, but it's not. I expect some carnage and some people not to finish this race, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's kind of the general consensus of everybody that you talked to, I know, previously. Ever since the reconfiguration happened the other year, it just changed this track. Something for the better, something for the worse. I'm kind of neutral on it. I think what they've done to some of the facilities is just fantastic. The racing itself, I do miss the character of the surface at Old Atlanta, but having, of course, some super speedway racing and a different type of super speedway racing that we've never seen before, it is a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the schedule. Of course, this is a road course heavy season in the PRL Cup Series. Sonoma had started off, Nashville, and then Chicago. Of course, Trent Dinkle won Chicago by a large margin there. But now we go into, well, while it's not with the super speedway moniker, that was Nashville. Nashville is not a super speedway. Atlanta Motor Speedway is certainly a super speedway. And honestly, it's the only super speedway of this PRL season. After this one, we'll go to New Hampshire, Pocono. We'll follow pretty much the full Cup Series schedule throughout the remainder of this PRL season, Derek.
Yeah, we will. And so, it's important to note that with how many road courses there are on the schedule, Dylan, if you're an oval guy, if you joined this league because you love NASCAR and you love the next gen car and you love ovals, you have to perform on nights like this. When there being 4 road courses on the schedule, those might be races you're just trying to hang on to and survive. So you must do well at Atlanta, New Hampshire, Pocono, Richmond. And this 4 or 5 race span will show us who will probably survive this season.
Absolutely. As we keep going, we see the standings right now. Dinkle 2 wins on the season, up 14 points over Abner Acosta. Jose Acosta right behind Abner and then it gets pretty tight between the 3rd through 6th place runners with, of course, Acosta previously mentioned, but Landon Mills, Maverick Davis, and Pat Harvey. I know Maverick, you have a little thing that he'll love, don't you, Derek?
I do. I guess we can go and show it now. So I was talking to Maverick about his thoughts about the race, and he said, let's do our team points first, though, and then we'll get on to Maverick's Oreo Dunker.
Yes, of course. The Oreo Dunker. I love the little thread you left there right at the end. But private label team hype, definitely showing who's boss here with 270 points over Love Racing 207. I mean, it's very close again. You usually see this, especially at the starts of the season, between drivers and team standings. They look very similar. For the drivers racing on the teams, they'll usually have a majority of the points for their team in the season. So not much to say that we haven't said about the driver standings here.
Yeah, not too much. And it'll keep getting tighter as we come back around. You can still see a team come up to the top 10 here, but we were talking about Maverick, and then now drivers are just starting qualifying here. I'm not sure if Maverick's on track yet. Is this Maverick we're following? I'm waiting to see a side of that car here. There we go. This is one of the private label cars here. But we were talking, this is Trent Dinkle. Sorry, this is last week's winner. I couldn't get a glimpse of that number there. Trent, of course, won last week by a lot. He had a great time at the Chicago Street Course. I mean, I believe if I remember my margin correctly, Dylan won it by like over 30 seconds over Abner Acosta and the rest of the field.
I do believe that Shane Van Gisbergen would have done the same if we had a completely green flag race with the Cup Series race last Sunday. Of course, my team with Justin Haley in the 31 almost won that race. That would have been very sweet. But seeing Van Gisbergen do that was fun. Seeing Dinkle have that win of over 30 seconds, well, that's a butt whooping right there. And of course, Dinkle going for his first lap with a 32.019. This is the lap that will count. It's a 2-lap qualifying stint right here. Of course, you get 2 laps to go for it. Usually at a super speedway, that first lap is to set up the second lap. Sometimes drivers like to use that first lap to go all the way against the wall, and it basically gives you more room to get up to speed, set an installment lap, and then go for the second lap as we keep watching. Of course, that's the 15 of Maverick Davis. Again, Oreo Dunker man.
Yeah, so let's get to it. So I was asking him about this. What are your thoughts tonight? He said, the track is lame, but I'm thinking about Oreos. And I said, what Oreos? Like, why? And he said, well, I've got my Oreo Dunker 9000 next to me. It's my Christmas gift I got last year. And he claims, Dylan, he has not dropped an Oreo in a glass of milk since receiving this gift.
That is, it's hard to believe. And if that's the truth, then I think we all need to listen to those methods. See, my method, and I will mention this very quickly, is just rotating the Oreo in the milk every few seconds, like a wheel.
Do you know, he also told me, his quote today was, Oreos are milk's favorite food.
Isn't that a brand? Isn't that a catchphrase?
I don't know. If it is, I didn't know it. But yeah, it should be.
Anyway, guess who is up top on the leaderboard by 4 thousandths of a second? It's Trent Dinkle. Of course, we're seeing the 37 car attempt some qualifying laps right here, and Eric Papineau. Hopefully, we'll see some fast times now. I think that's actually his last lap. Yep, that was the second lap. Right now, gridding up in 17th, we have 30 cars who have so far taken their times up onto the leaderboard. Still waiting on 5 more to go for it. Some of them just deciding to wait out in the back. Some of them, of course, deciding to just leave it till late, see the times that they have to go for. I believe Brian Dixon and Bruno Mello are the only 2 cars that are out on track at the moment, setting lap time. So it looks like 3 drivers will not qualify: Wayne Grasset, TJ Bartel, and Richard Pruitt. We see sometimes continuing to change, but it's been pretty stable the last minute and a half or so in the top 15, top 16 of the leaderboard. We see Mello coming around to complete his first lap. And here's something that's interesting. In the NASCAR Cup Series, as that's a slow lap right there with a 31.84 last car of all of them. Yeah, he definitely drifted up way too much. This is not going to be a fast lap for Mello either. He might gain a few tenths here, but he definitely lost some of what his potential lap could be. Now, on lap 2 for Trent Dinkle, he cut all the way down to the apron, which is the out of bounds in the Cup race. You'll see, right there, Mello do exactly that. We'll see where he goes up, and wow. 31.274 for Bruno Mello. That is shocking. He's 8 thousandths off the lead just as time expired. Shows what we know.
Yeah, it shows just how different that can look and how it can feel. But yeah, so there you go. That's a great run. Let's go ahead and see what's coming up next.
All right, let's go through the starting grid real quick. Trent Dinkle, of course, on the pole with Joshua Daniels to the outside. In the front row, Bruno Mello with a time set just as qualifying expired. Abner Acosta, James O'Brien, and, of course, Waldo Walden. Lou Christian and Robert Beasall Jr., with Chad Gibby and Jeff Chandler being your top 10. Pat Harvey alongside Charles Sumner. Continuing down the leaderboard is Tristan Callahan, Chris Hudson, 13th and 14th, Brandon Walter, and Maverick Davis, whose livery, his scheme looks like an Oreo, Jay McDonald in 17th, and Tom Macy in 18th. With Eric Papineau, Rachel Hunt, Brian Dixon, Jose Acosta, Robert Gamble, and Jose Medina, your top 24. We continue down into row 13, John T. Jones, Eric Hagg, Skip Gandy, Patrick Cowgill, Bradley Moore, Colton Easterday, and the last few drivers, Mike Witt, Landon Mills. That's a surprising qualifying effort there from Mills. Wayne Grass, TJ Bartel, and Richard Pruitt have not qualified. Let's run straight into who we need to just watch for and thank. With Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products using Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. The pace car is going down into pit lane. We got to catch this green flag, the start of it here. Green flag is out. We are racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. coming around for the first lap completed. The leader, I don't think it's anybody's surprise that Trent Dinkle's in the top 3. And it is a surprise, though, that he is not staying on the pole. Joshua Daniels gets it away from him after lap 1. However, this is a 150-lap affair. The NASCAR Xfinity Series race last night was 163 laps, so just short of that mark that we reached. It's an hour and 30-minute time limit as well. Daniels will cross the line leader once again. The top 4 are shuffling. The top 5 are all single file right now. But the inside line is being led by Luke Christian, and they've got a bit of a train as there's some separation between the 98 and the 78 from 5th and 6th on the top line.
The one thing that really stood out to me in this first couple of laps here, Dylan, that you mentioned, is how quickly Trent Dinkle got to the top in that first lap where we're kind of letting the action speak for itself. He quickly snapped up there in front of a teammate, in front of, I think it was James O'Brien he snapped up in front of. It was a quick, decisive move he made, but I was surprised to see him not want to ride the bottom here, as is typical for most super speedway racers.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you will see in a super speedway race, usually what you want to see as a driver in them is just calm. It's a long race. There are 150 total laps. We're just a few laps into it. You don't want to see 3-wide racing until it gets to the nitty-gritty. If there were stage points being given out at some point, yes, you would expect to see that then. But you don't want to see 3-wide unless it's very safe to do so. And it's never completely safe to go 3-wide here, especially with how narrow this track is.
Yeah, this track, of course, is more narrow than it used to be. And Dylan, of course, you know, and most of our viewers know, back in 2001, they made a lot of changes to make this into a super speedway style track. The banking got steeper, but it also got narrow. That's what allows this track to race like that. Is it's more banking, but it's done in a bigger, I guess, incline or decline. So that's what causes this. Of course, from 24 degrees to 28 degree banking through the corners.
The top 20 have completely broken away from the second half of the field. We're 2 wide from 4th on back. That bottom line still being led by Luke Christian. Christian gets a little bit of a bump right through that dogleg there by the 23 of Chad Gibby. Bruno Mello has fallen back to 5th on the outside line, but they're reconnected on that outside line with the 98 Tropicana machine of Charles Sumner. Of course, a fan favorite, maybe not always a driver favorite when he has to bring the hammer down sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's doesn't always make my favorite. But I want to talk about that group behind 20 you talked about. Whether you're talking about Eric Papineau, some fan favorites back there, Skip Gandy, Landon Mills back there in 26th, by the way. It's maybe by design that they're back there, Dylan. Not everybody wants... Oh, hold on. That's 3 wide. What is that?
Did not work out well.
No, I was going to say sometimes that's by design, though. And, you know, sometimes as a driver, you don't want to always be up in the hornet's nest. You don't always want to be up in that pack. You have this theory, whether it's right or wrong, that if I sit in the back, I sit behind the pack, I can see the wreck happen, and I bet I could check up for it and not be part of it. That doesn't always work, but that's what some of these guys are hoping for.
As a note, just earlier with Trent Dinkle getting the pole, he is 2 pole positions away from tying the all-time NASCAR Cup Series PRL pole leader, which was Richard Regan Jr. So that's, of course, some established company. They're already kind of in together. Richard Regan Jr., one of the best qualifiers in all PRL NASCAR competition. Dinkle joining him.
Dylan saying that Richard Regan has the record there for Cup Series poles, and of course Richard Regan, a very talented driver. We'll see throughout the PRL Series, both I believe on Sundays, and on Wednesdays we'll see Richard racing. So that's a big goal to get, having the most poles, Dylan. Not everybody strives for that. Qualifying is sometimes an overlooked skill on the iRacing service.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a very overlooked skill. But also on a super speedway.
140 laps to go here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, or some of us now call it the Atlanta Motor Super Speedway. And Joshua Daniels still leading them around here, having a good time. Dylan, are you still there?
I've been here. Can you hear me?
Alright, sounds like Dylan's in robot mode, so we're going to kind of wait for Dylan to come back here, but this bottom line is finally starting to come around. In fact, almost a new leader there on the bottom. So what makes this track not a super speedway, I'll talk about that as we get Dylan back with us, is this is not a flat out race. Don't confuse yourself. These drivers are not flat out. Either now or later, when we have some incredible onboard shots of these cars in the corners, you're going to hear them lifting. A driver in this pack cannot be flat out and cannot hold that gas pedal down the whole way. You will lose this car. It will come around on you. So it's a much different challenge than a Daytona or a Talladega. Laps continue to tick in. We're 13 laps in here of 150. This race, of course, does have that time limit if the caution flags fly often enough to make that happen. Incredible job here. Trent Dinkel right behind his teammate, Abner Acosta. Now, last week we heard them talk about how, you know, maybe teammates would work together again to make sure points happen and wins happen, and you know how much they praise each other during the post-race interviews. So we'll wait and see what happens as this race goes on. But right now, Joshua Daniels still your leader. That outside lane still continues to dominate here, and I'm surprised that this inside lane has not gotten it together. But here's Trent Dinkel on board. What I love about Trent Dinkel, he's always so calm, cool, and collected. You would never know that man's too wide at Atlanta, going probably 190 miles an hour here around this track. Based on that face. That's an incredible run here by a P4 driver.
So right now, of course, Joshua Daniels leading the rest of the field. Derek, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I actually think it was I don't know if you could hear me. I could hear you.
You were total robot over here on my ears, so.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, we are 16 laps into this race as Charles Sumner up into 9th in that 98 Chevrolet. Leader of the race now is Abner Acosta, who has been shoved into the lead by Trent Dinkel on the outside line, but fighting back is going to be Joshua Daniels as well. Across another lap, and this pack is definitely getting a bit wild now. It's still the top 23, I should say, who have now broken away. The rest of the field is just kind of strung out and weird gaps in between them, and we have got smoke and a big one from Trent Dinkel involved. Dinkel involved. The 78 involved. The big name is, of course, Dinkel, and it all happened in slow motion. I don't know what happened. The 21, I think, might have gone up a little bit, and Dinkel came down.
I'm not sure. As you said, it happened in slow motion. We can almost think you could see it coming, but you couldn't stop it. I'm not sure if someone drifted up in the draft. I'm excited for the replay here, Dylan, to see what happened here.
Yeah, I saw from the corner of my eye there was a little bit of changing of lanes going on, but Trent Dinkel, oh goodness, this is going to be huge for the point standings, and all of a sudden we see drivers coming down pit lane. Presumably this is going to be for fuel. I don't expect to see a lot of tires being taken here, but does anyone decide to stay out? I would assume no. We'll have to see what these drivers choose. Joshua Daniels comes into pit box number 2 as the leader. Actually does come up on the jacks, as most of these drivers are, so I'm surprised. There were a lot of periods with 115 laps on the tires last night. And the track temp right now is 120 degrees, obviously a scorcher, a little bit of one, as it's an 88-degree day. It was hot during qualifying, I will say, in the real world yesterday. When it was sunny, the track was 142 degrees Fahrenheit. And in the clouds, it immediately went to 129 degrees. So Abner Acosta coming out a little bit behind the rest of the pack. who stayed out? I believe we're seeing Brandon Walter, Bradley Moore, Colton Easterday, and Robert Gamble as the ones who stayed out. Wonder if they'll come down in the pits or anything, but they might have taken a gamble here, and we might have 4 new drivers up front.
Yeah, timing of scoring shows Walter did pit, so I'm not sure on that one, but I do agree on the first 3. Moore, Easterday, and Gamble all say that. It's an interesting call. I know you were surprised by the tires, Dylan. I was not as surprised.
Walter, actually, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Derek, but Walter did not take tires, which I think is the right move. Moore and Gamble come down pit lane, and Colton Easterday is the only one on the lead lap who stayed out. So Easterday stayed out, and Walter went in to top up on fuel. To me, there's no need to get any tires right there. No need. We get the replay right now in the main frame, and we'll see exactly what happened. And it looked like, to me, the 21 came up, the 9 went down a little bit, but the 21 went halfway out of line, and obviously that happens less than 20 laps into a super speedway race, and that's just chaos.
Yeah, chaos is a good word for it, right? And getting checked up for that wreck is incredibly hard if you're right behind it. So, I mean, that's going to put Trent Dinkle and a couple others with damage, if not out of the race, definitely towards the back of this line. And so if you're someone who came into this race tonight, 10th, 11th, 12th in points, you're not happy to see people wreck or have a damaged car, but you have to think now's the night to make a move to do some point racing.
All right, so we are about to get back to green flag racing here. Green flag's going to come on lap 21. We get a slow motion replay, and I really like this. All right, so Trent Dinkle he's in line. And this might be in 1 and 2. The wreck happens in 3 and 4, so we got a while to go. Back in the bottom right is green flag racing. Big jump by Easterday. Let's keep it on this replay as well to see exactly what the cause was for that caution. Oh, yeah. 21, Blue Christian just completely came up. I have no idea what he was doing right there. Yeah, that's a mistake from Christian. It took out a few really fast drivers. We're back to live pictures, and Colton Easterday had such a big run out in front. He didn't consider the fact that he needs some help as well to stay out in front. Joshua Daniels takes the lead, but Brandon Walter is right on his back bumper. I'll tell you what, watch out for Walter to stay up there if he can race good on this super speedway that Atlanta currently is, because if that's the case, then it just shows that, tires weren't necessary. And Derek, I understand why you would as well. You just want to see what the effect is, the difference in feeling, but they're going to be scrubbing speed anyway, and it's a super speedway. Watch at a normal track, right? Nashville, for example. 18 laps, new tires. You'll have, if you want to get new tires at 18 laps, and sure, do that. You'll get a few tenths quicker out of the tires immediately. At a super speedway, it almost doesn't matter, especially that short a time. You're really 32 miles on the rubber, when we saw in the real world NASCAR teams can go 115, 120 laps on one set of tires at Atlanta.
Well, no, see, I agree with you. You can, but do you have to? Right? There's two separate factors in play here. If you're someone who, whether you're at Abner Acosta, you're a Chad Kibbe, a Jose Acosta, what you've done right here is you've taken tires and banked on the fact that this is a league of talented drivers, and maybe we don't caution again, or maybe we don't have that moment again, and you'll have a little bit more comfort in the car 30 laps from now. This isn't just an in-the-moment move. This is a big game, long game chess play to see what can happen in later in the race.
Oh, I get that completely. I just don't see it really coming into play here at Atlanta. I think that there will be another caution, and there will be the 95 has been turned. Easterday down into the inside wall. No caution. We stay green for the time being. Car slowing down. My goodness, we stayed green there.
That's just how fast things can happen here at Atlanta or any super speedway. My guess is he just drifted up a little bit, Hopefully we'll get a shot of it in a moment. We'll see what happened to him. But, you know, it's easy to sit back and criticize these guys for moving up a lane or drifting half a lane. But when you're doing this stuff in these cars, in the sim at 190 miles an hour, Dylan, one small tick, one small loss of focus, and next thing you know, you're up the track where you don't want to be.
Or down to the inside, where you also don't want to be. We'll get the replay right here. Easter Day just got a weird push from Chad Kibbe. Yeah, and the weird bumps, of course. Listen, Atlanta, it doesn't have the track surface does not have the character it used to have, but it's still bumpy, right? There are still some bumps from the natural undulations of the track surface. So I'm not shocked that we do see some lack of control at times from drivers, and not because they're not good. It's just because it's hard to control.
And you know, that whole bump drafting in the corner, you know, whether it be in sim or in real life, Dylan, that's a hot debate. There are drivers who say, hey, beat my bumper off. I don't care. As long as you know what you're doing, feel free to bump me all day long through the corner. And there are some drivers who don't want touched in the corner and don't feel comfortable with it. And that's a skill that in that opinion, that changes driver to driver.
The way I look at it is don't do it until there's 15, 20, 10 laps to go. Something like that, with just absolutely nailing the bumper. Walter is still running well, by the way, as we see what's going on a little bit farther back in the pack. Maverick Davis, center of attention there, as we see all these Cup Series cars, these beasts just flowing right on by. You know, a lot of people don't love, as we keep saying, Atlanta, but it does lead to some fun super speedway racing because it provides a different challenge than Daytona or Talladega. Right now it is a little bit of a 2x2 procession, just really fast pace laps right now. 31 got a run on your screen, but had to back out of it and go up high. It's a lot of feathering the throttle, and here's something to think about as well. These teams could make it on just one more pit stop when it comes to fuel, but how far do you want to stretch it? Now, of course, the cars in front, in the lead of this pack, who is right now Chad Kibbe, he's going to have to use a lot more fuel because he's just throttled down the whole time. Everyone in behind, from Robert P. Saul Jr., Waldo Walden, Joshua Daniels, Brandon Walter, all of them, they won't. Anyone who's at the lead of a line has to use more fuel. Everyone behind feathers the throttle.
Yeah, that is true, Dylan. That is obviously one of the biggest, most drafting mechanics we have is that fuel usage, and so sometimes people don't want to lead because of that. You might be more comfortable in third place saving fuel. You might still have to pit at the same time as the guys in front of you. You just have to take a little less fuel on pit road and maybe beat them that way.
Top line has definitely strung out. Only 4 drivers on the top right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's a hole and they go down to that bottom line, but everyone's getting a little bit more accordion effect like up front. Trying to think of a good adjective there, but just went with the noun and added to it, word structure and all that. But the top 5 are starting to get pushed a bit from in behind. Pat Harvey was part of that checkup on the bottom line. Top line are starting to reassert itself, but they still don't have strength in numbers. Yellow flag is out. There's a caution. I think TJ Bartel, or Bart on the back of the road, was in the wall. It was actually a driver in front. Really big save from Eric Hag, and I am really surprised that was a caution when we saw Easter Day hit the wall hard earlier from the front.
Yeah, and I want to come back to that for just 1 second and say what a great job that was in that Easter Day incident. Everyone checked up. Everyone avoided it. You know, obviously Easter Day had a hard hit, but I mean, that could have been 10, 15, 20 cars all piled together, but they all communicated, they all checked up, and they've all lived to race a few more laps here.
So it is lap 35 we are coming to. And
so I think the only question I would have now, Dylan, is the drivers who did not pit the first time. Now, what's in their head? Now, are they comfortable where they are? That's going to mean, because they fell back a little bit in the standings. So I'm just kind of curious what they're thinking about doing in this moment.
I mean, every car will have to still come down to get fuel. Look at where Brandon Walter is. He's back in 12th. Of course, he came down pit road, and he did go down and get a set of 4 Goodyear tires on the car. So, hey, I think it's a better idea to do that 35 laps in rather than 18 laps in. You probably still want to get tires if it goes green halfway to go. I mean, by the time we get back to green flag racing, there's going to be 112, 113 laps left in this baby. So, I don't know. You always have to plan for the green flag to stay out the entire way, but you also have to keep in the back of your mind that it's not going to happen. Anyway, let's get to talking about some of our great partners here in the Precision Racing League. The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. You can feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. That's Butt Kicker. Of course, this coverage is also brought to you by Mecha Sim Hardware. This is the Mecha Sim Hardware. It's a small company from the Czech Republic. Their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. And if you're looking for that high-end pedal set, that high-end handbrake or sequential shifter, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now. They'll get you right up to speed. It's also brought to you by Muradness. Muradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsports and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit muradness.com. And of course, we'd like to welcome Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography, you can capture your finest, proudest, or, hey, simply worst moments from your hobby and up to 8K resolution. It's a great addition to any sim room. Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. I've got a lot more worst moments than proudest moments of mine when it comes to iRacing as well. A lot of bad moments. I've had some triumphs. I don't know about you, Derek.
I've had some great moments and some not great moments I don't want to relive, but I'm sure if I did, Mr. Hedge could fix it up here. There'll be a lot of drivers tonight leaving, in fact, Dylan, tonight, who probably won't want to remember this race when they wake up tomorrow morning. But Chad Kibbe now up to the front, by the way. There's a name we've not spoken up too much yet, with Robert Besaw Jr. on the outside now.
Well, we're going back to green flag racing with 114 laps, I should say, left in this race. Green flag is out. Chad Kibbe leads the way, but just like last time, gets a really big head of steam. He's going to be swallowed up whole if he doesn't get to blocking very quickly here. Not as way out that Easterday had on the last restart, which I think will bode well for him, but the 3 is coming with some speed on the outside line.
Yeah, and that's a thing we learned pretty quickly in super speedway racing, is not to get that big jump. It's counterintuitive to other types of races like the mile and a halfs or the short tracks, but that only just leads those guys to get a draft line behind you and catch up fast. Right now, here you go to the line. It would be Besaw out there, out front on this lap, Dylan.
Top 5 cars on the inside line. I should say top 7 on the inside line are matched with the driver on the inside from the outside. I can't speak.
That's okay. I was going to say, that move right there by Besaw real quick, we can talk about it. The reason I got a little oof in the broadcast about that is, man, when you make a move at a super speedway, whether it's Atlanta, Daytona, or Talladega, I think you need to be a little bit more decisive than that, Dylan. When you start to kind of slowly drift a lane like you're on a highway, it can cause to really bad moments at a race like this. You have to be more decisive and snap that move to make it stick sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you do, but it also comes at the cost of putting yourself in harm's way. One wrong move, a fraction of a second too late, and it can go all sorts of awry for you. Currently, the lead is going to Chris Hudson from 14th on the grid up to P1 on lap number 40. 111 to go here. which, by the way, if you're also paying attention at all to the NASCAR Cup Series, there's 122 to go, so this race might end just a little bit beforehand. Hey, there's rain coming to Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia tonight, but I'll tell you what, there's no rain coming in the virtual service right now. We're going all the rest of the way. Lead taken by Luke Christian on the outside line with a push from the 88 of Mike Witt, who then takes the lead of the outside line because Christian came down to the bottom line to take that move from Chris Hudson. This is getting fun and exciting here.
It really is. Now, Hudson, of course, in an interesting spot. Dylan, he already used his drop last week. He said he was off on vacation with the family, and so he does not have a drop left to use, so he has to race hard the rest of the season. I talked to him earlier today, and he says he thinks when he's in clean air, he can lead a line and be successful. He wasn't as optimistic about when he was behind someone else.
I'll tell you who definitely is going to need is going to have a drop week this week. It's the driver in second to last, Trent Dinkle. Not going to be a huge hit, but to have the drop week actually be needed for, I mean, pretty much a DNF at this point. He's out of the sim. That's definitely not what you want to see. Dinkle does not have the biggest advantage and might not even have the advantage coming out of this race.
Well, and you know, why we all love super speedways, Dylan, is that unknown, right? Anything can happen, no matter how big or small your team is, your first race, your 100th race, anyone can win this thing and anyone can do well or not do well. Listen, right now, Abner Acosta and his opponents are doing well in the points, but you know, give it a couple laps, and maybe Dinkle's not losing the same amount of points he is currently.
Christian still leading. This is wildly consistent from this entire group of cars. They are side by side back to position 25. Very impressive right now. You see Luke Christian currently position number 1. See that bottom lip over the top lip? That means there's some concentration at play. You ever see a video of yourself when you're concentrating so hard, sim racing? Yeah, I don't think any of these drivers asked for it, but he's definitely trying to put in the work right now with that deep dish NASCAR branded Fanatec wheel. He's going to get a little bit of a shove from Chris Hudson right now. He's got to deal with it. He's right up against the bumper. The 3 right behind him. These are some names we don't always see involved at the front of the pack. It's nice to see.
It is nice to see. It's very nice to see different names and different people who get to compete here because of the style of racing. And maybe this is what they're good at. Listen, you know, even as oval racers, we have different types of favorites of tracks, whether it be super speedways or whether it be intermediates or short tracks. This is Chris Hudson here, by the way. Now, right there, you get a nice little bump here down the back straight. See if he continues it through the corner here. Nope, he's going to back it off, I think. Look how widespread those monitors are right there, by the way.
Looks like 27-inch, three back, as a little bit of a look was given to the outside by Hudson. Just saying, hey, Lou, I'm here. And if I want to go to the outside, I'm a slingshot around you.
And as a driver, what you're doing there is 2 things, Dylan. One, you're letting the guy in front of you know, hey, I could do this if I wanted to. You're kind of flexing your muscles. The second thing you're doing is you're kind of sending a signal on back, right? You want to know if the 3 will go with you. You want to know if others, the 23 or the 42, will follow. And if they start to peek out, then you're committed. Otherwise, you just dip back in line.
That was hairy right there. I'll definitely say that.
Speaking of the 42.
The top 4 of Luke Christian, Chris Hudson, Robert Beasall Jr., and Chad Kibbe, well, it was Chad Kibbe in the top 4, have combined for 4 career wins. Robert Beasall Jr. actually has 3 wins. Luke Christian, 0. Chris Hudson, 1. Jose Acosta, of course, with Abner Acosta having 22 wins. Jose has 1 as well. The top 5 wins combined.
I told you earlier, this is why we love this track, because this style of racing, you never know who can pull that, whether it's a Daytona 500, a Talladega race, Atlanta Motor Speedway. Who knows what can happen now? We got a lap car coming up here, and they're going to pull down. That's the right move there.
Yeah,
that
always
could have been
the
our
right
first
move.
hairy move right there.
Well, the good thing is that most of the, the top three are single file. You take a look back, and then you see that there's just a bunch of Hornets just fighting tooth and nail for every position. Hudson had a little bit of a look across and still goes up just half a car length width-wise up to the lane number 1.5, I guess you could say, from the bottom. These cars are not going fast enough, and the track is not banked, or is banked high enough where they can run the bottom on exit. They don't have to go all the way up to the wall. Here's a big run from Chris Hudson. He looked to the inside, nothing was there. The three also had a bit of a run. They feathered off the throttle just a bit with Beasall Jr. just sitting back in position number 3. Chad Kibbe has gotten himself back into 4th place, and now there's a bit of a gap as the 88 and the 42 of Mike Witt and Jose Acosta are side drafting. Side drafting, of course, will slow 2 competitors down if they're not getting pushed from in behind. And that top 4 get a little bit hairy right there. The 42, of course, goes to the outside looking for a lane. He's not clear to go to the inside. There's a driver right underneath him, but he's fallen back quickly.
Yeah, he has fallen back quickly, and it made me wonder earlier if Chris Hudson was going to pull up in front of him and sort of pull that draft ahead. Who knows if that would have worked or not, but now he's going to fall back here. What's that, 6, 7, almost 8 cars back now from that bottom lane.
Outside line, very separated right now. Very minuscule compared to that train on the inside, but the only thing I can say that helps with, if you've got a lot of drivers who aren't used to being, to dealing with the accordion effect on the inside line, it's almost like too many cooks in the kitchen. And right now it's allowing the 42 machine of Jose Acosta to get right back into it. 1 Cup Series win in PRL action.
Of course, last week at the road course, the street course, pardon me, we saw Jose and Abner fighting really hard for spots. And this week, Jose is doing a great job leading that outside lane and trying to get back to the front here. And we're pretty well in. We're a third of the way through this race right here. And a lot of cars still eligible for a win when this thing is over.
The good thing that we have seen, and this is totally going to be a broadcaster curse right here, is that it's been relatively clean for the majority of the last bit of running here, which is what you want to see, right? You want to get to the end with a lot of cars still in contention to win. 28 of the 35 cars registered for this race on the lead lap right now. Only a few cars have completely left the sim, and by a few, I mean it looks like 3. Patrick Calgill, I think, is the latest to leave.
Good news for Jose Acosta here, Dylan. He got Joshua Daniels, to pull up here and help lead that top lane. So an extra car in that draft lane will help get them to the front a little. Oh, there's another one, a little quicker.
Oh, a big move down to the inside line. I think that was the 23 machine. Someone went down there quickly. Nice to see that. It's getting a little bit more intense as the action picks up. 58 is the lap number. We still have over 90 laps to go. It's getting to the point where in around 30, 20 laps, you can pit and never have to pit to the end of the race. Probably sooner than that as well, Derek.
Dylan, something's making me a little nervous here. If we can focus on second place for a second, Chris Hudson's movements out of the corner. I can't figure out if he's trying to get some air to the car or if he's having a hard time with the handling. Oh, hold on.
No, big rep, the 88 to 23. It's the big one at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and they're still piling into each other.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, we talk about broadcaster curse, and I certainly brought that one up for size.
Wow, that's massive. To be honest with you, I'm not sure where that started. It just could have. I saw the Gatorade car, and then, wow, it just kept piling in. Caution's out for the 3rd time tonight, Dylan. And wow, this is going to have major implications on the drivers in this race.
Let's do some math here. You need 90 more laps, at least. Oh, wow, the 88 live pictures. I know we're going to the what's going on in pit stops, but the 88 just hit Jose Medina under yellow on the backstretch. But 21 is going to bring him down to pit lane. And we'll see where everyone decides to slot in. If anyone decides to stay out, all getting some tires. Of course, you get 5 sets of tires for this race. So I guess if everyone else is doing it, why not use the tires as well, especially if you're in the front. I don't think it's a bad idea that if you're running in the back to not take tires or to take 2 right side tires, because those are the tires, obviously. That's the side that's really getting all the energy transferred into it. But, man, this is going to be quite wild.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that comment, because that was what was in my head, Dylan, about what's different from this race at Atlanta versus a Daytona or a Talladega in iRacing specifically. In all my races this week in official racing, let's just replay first. Hold on. Where's it going to come from? Watch the bottom lane here. It's our slow-mo replay. Went to see contact up top.
Well, it looks like
it's going to come. Hold on. Oh, I'm not. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The 77 just got into the back of the 23, and then calamity ensues. It's a shame seeing some great paint schemes being taken out of this race in just one fell swoop. But we'll see what the damage is for all of the drivers if they're able to keep up with the pack. Right now, Luke Christian still in the lead, we think, of this race. And yes, should be, yes, in lead of this race. So pretty much everyone came down. I don't think anyone didn't come down. Now let's do some math here. We're not going green this time by. We still have at least 2 more laps under the pace car. So that means we would go green flag on lap 63. That would mean we've got, what is it, 88 laps to go. You still need to pit. Still need to pit for fuel.
Yep, absolutely, you do.
You could get to maybe 65, 70 laps, maybe, on one full tank of fuel. I know we were running really, really strong in terms of lots of laps. I think it was like we could get 75 on a full tank of fuel yesterday in the Xfinity Series race. So it's probably going to be similar, 65, 70 laps, I would say, in sim. So we're not there yet, but we will soon.
But see, here's the question about a race like this, and you know this, Dylan, and maybe others do as well. It's not about always when you want to pit here, right? Whether you have working with your teams that we have in PRL, private label, or precision racing esports or whatnot, or whether you're just working with friends, it's a group decision about when you want to pit. And I think we've all ended up in a spot before where we don't want to pit. I'm not ready to pit. I think I can go out longer, or I want to wait for the caution. But if your 3 or 4 friends want to go, your choice is to follow them and stay in the draft, or be stubborn and have no draft. So it's really almost like a trial by jury here to figure out when you're going to pit.
So we're going green this time by. I know this isn't the NASCAR Cup Series race, but the Cup Series race is going on as we speak right now. And I'm very hopeful that rain does not come, but guess what? Rain is 10, 15 minutes out from Hampton, Georgia as we speak. I have personal stakes in this, in this race, being a Colleague Racing employee. AJ Allmendinger currently 5th, Justin Haley currently 7th under caution. So you might hear me scream at some points, or just not hear me 4 points at all.
Yeah, let me do a comparison contrast real quick between this race and the Cup race. And I think it's because maybe in iRacing we don't have that brand loyalty that we have in real life for obvious reasons. we don't see the pitting by manufacturers in iRacing like we do in Cup Series racing. That's one thing that always stands out to me when you're comparing these races side by side.
I really like that that thought process. Usually manufacturers will always pit with manufacturers or work with manufacturers in sim, unless it's high level sim events. Of course, you'll get that manufacturer working together. Green flag back out in the air on lap 63 of 150 here in the PRL Cup Series race. Remember, and this is a very strong remember, we are an hour and 30-minute time limit. That's what it is here in these PRL Cup races. We're not halfway through. We're 10 seconds away from the elapsed time in sim. Yeah, you see that clock on the top left? We have 48 minutes remaining. 48 minutes remaining. I don't know. That's going to be a close one.
In a way, it's sort of a cool comparison contrast. I don't think you were going for, Dylan. That's our rain clock right there. I'm pretty positive with the number of cautions we've had already, this race will go to the time limit and not the lap limit. So now you have to start planning differently in your head about your pit stops. I think that clock is going to be the determining factor in when this race ends. There's not going to be rain in the sim. It's the same idea. It's the same idea. Yeah. We're now counting time.
You're absolutely right about that. So we are counting time just because of these cautions. So do I think we'll make it if we go green the rest of the way? Yeah, it's not really a thought process to say, yes, we will make it. If we stay, green the rest of the way, but I just don't trust these, that we're not going to have so many cautions. You know what I'm saying, Derek?
Yeah, I think even one more caution, I think that's where we are time-wise. I think one more caution probably puts us under the clock, I think. So let me come back to a point I was making, Dylan, real quick before we had that big wreck, and hopefully I don't cause it again. Chris Hudson. Something about Chris Hudson is coming out of the corners, Dylan. If you take a look at it, the way he's drifting out a little bit, I can't tell if it's his comfort in a race car. Watch him not do it here. I can't tell if it's comfort in a race car, if it's he's trying to get air to the car, but movements like that are scary in this type of racing because someone can easily think you're going to move up and they'll get up under you, and that causes a wreck. So watch, there it is again. He's always drifting out, and I can't figure out why. If I could be in his ears, I would say, dude, hug the red line. Please hug the red line.
Yeah, absolutely. Hug that red line. The biggest thing that any driver asks in a pack right now, that was close, is to just stay predictable, right? One bit of unpredictability, one bit of moving half a lane up, even with the natural, movement of the car, it will move half a lane up here or there. It's never a straightforward single file line. You see them weaving and bobbling back and forth. That's just how it goes. You don't want to do it too much, though. You don't want to bobble up one lane because then it just destroys any chance you had of just keeping it together and keep the momentum moving forward. We're almost at the halfway point of this race. The current pace that we're at of this race, with the cautions we've had so far, 3 of them, would put us on the clock. As there's a big move out in front, Landon Mills had enough of being behind Lou Christian, but Christian has the help on the inside lane. The 74 of Bartel, he's coming up. Where did he come from? 34th, all the way up into the lead group of vehicles here on the outside line. He's going to get a push from the 16 of Rachel Hunt.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think about, by the way, that cars who started in the back, maybe they avoided a couple wrecks, and now they've worked their way up here.
Super Speedway racing.
Yep, look at that. Landon Mills, and it was like almost last in qualifying, and here he is.
Landon Mills had a horrific qualifying lap. I believe he was the last car on time. And, I mean, you got to trust Landon Mills is going to do Landon Mills things, and that means just slicing and dicing his way through the field to get up front. We're on lap 71 entering turn 3. That bottom line has looked really strong. I think, all race. The bottom line has been the one. So what you just saw as the camera got stuck on Landon Mills for a second, who blinked for just a moment as he cut right in front of Bruno Mello. And that was so close. He took the hole at the last possible second. That could have been calamity for everyone from 5th on back.
It really could have. Now, I believe this top lane has the potential, Dylan, to work. Here's what the top lane needs. Patience, right?
What's that?
You need two or three more guys to get up there with patience. Yeah, I know. What's patience, right? When can I get that? You need to get up there and be patient and ride that lane, and I think you can make it work. But if you get impatient, then it'll never get together because guys don't want to build that momentum and make that draft. Oh, that blinking is scary. That's going to break that draft momentum very quickly.
It's happening. Oh my goodness, it's happening a ton. So the 8 machine of Skip Gandy is blinking a ton as well, and he has been forced to drop all the way back of this pack. He's the third car he's the third car, last car on the lead lap. I wouldn't be shocked if there has to be a move made from race control that would say, hey, Landon, you'd have to drop back too. And now there's blinking in front of Landon, and that's Brian Dixon. So 4th and 5th having some connection issues. Bruno Mello has given himself 2 car lengths in between 3rd and 4th and 5th, who go side by side now. If you're Bruno Mello or TJ Bartel, what do you even do?
That's the hard thing, right? I think we've all been in a spot in iRacing where you're behind someone who's blinking. You don't know what to do because you don't want to get up there next to them. What if they blink back in front of you and you wreck, right? So you want to find a way to get quickly around them, but it's so hard. You just want to yell at them. And the worst part is they can't hear you. They're blinking so much, they probably won't even hear you yell at them. It's a lose-lose all the way around. Here's I think in my opinion, one of our presumptive points leaders after tonight, Abner Acosta, back here in the pack here, Dylan.
Yeah, and this is going to be a major kind of day for Acosta to get back into a points race. Now, listen to this. Acosta can just come right back into this points battle and not have any races like Dinkel has had, and it would be perfect, right? It would be a situation where Dinkel has to use his drop week. We might not see the need for a drop week, like a big drop week from Acosta.
No, you may not. But I'll tell you what, though, after watching Trent Dinkel literally spank the field last week in Chicago, if I was Abner Acosta, Jose Acosta, or anyone, I'd be concerned that there are more road courses in the schedule and more chances for Trent Dinkel to flex those muscles.
The outside line is in line with 7th on back on the inside line. So there's still blinking happening as well from Brian Dixon. That might be part of the reason that there's been a little bit falling back here. We're well past the halfway point, running green for the last dozen or so laps. Well, I should say more than a dozen laps at this point, which is very nice to see. Almost 20 straight laps of green flag racing. This is, we're still up against the clock. Landon Mills takes a peek. We're riding on board with, I believe this is the 42 of Jose Acosta. You don't see the mess that's behind him, which now you do. The 16 and the 23 just going at it, and the accordion effect is in full contention.
By the way, as we see Jose Acosta riding there, as we saw Charles Sumner up there in that Tropicana machine running, can we talk for a second about how big of tanks and beasts these cars are, Dylan? Both these guys have been involved in wrecks tonight, and here they are, still competing, almost like nothing happened. There are definitely car models in real life and in iRacing that if you took that kind of beating to that car from that kind of pack of racing, you'd not come back from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, it's interesting. The Cup Series car nowadays can take a little bit of a beating and be fine. There have been, you know, a lot of work to try and get the parts of the Cup car that are way too stiff to be loosened up. You know, the front clips have had a change as of this weekend, as of this race that's currently going on simultaneously to what we're seeing with Rachel Hunt and the rest of the group here in the PRL Cup Series race. And that front clip, of course, softened up. In iRacing, we don't necessarily change the structure of the cars because, let's face it, you're not going to be hurt. Well, typically, I have seen videos that say on the contrary, but you're not going to be hurt by crashing a car in iRacing.
Yeah,
So,
it wasn't a stock car, I don't think, but I always think of that. Was it the Jordan Taylor video in the motion rig when he wrecks and the rig tips over?
Jordan Taylor, Rodney Sandstorm, he's a fun guy to talk to in real life, I'll tell you that. Raced for us, Colleague Racing at Portland. It was fun to talk to. Definitely the personality he portrays is who he is, which I love. Nonetheless, Luke Christian still in the lead. Some moves maybe in the back. Are we going to see 3 wide? Some impatience here as we're well past the halfway point now. That second line is definitely not going at the full speed it could, with Landon Mills kind of struggling to lead that line. Gets a huge bump from Jose Acosta, who wants to go. But then he goes down a lane. The rest of the outside line was in probably lane number 3 and had to come down to lane number 2 to go with Mills.
Well, looking to fan out for the lead there, the top 3. That'll let both lanes catch up right there. Any kind of moment where you lose your draft, those top 3 did, you let everyone behind you close that gap. And that top lane just needs one more person, whether it be B-Saw or Chris Hudson to move up, and I think they'd be dominant. But what they're doing, Dylan, real quick, is they're not perfectly in line. Now, earlier you made the great point. No one stays perfectly in line in super speedway racing, but watch the difference in these front 2, and Jose Acosta and the car in front of him, and look at the different lines they were racing before they dipped out here. That's what causes that draft not to work perfectly.
Landon Mills goes to the outside now, comes out of line, and no one's with him at all. He could have stayed in the inside line, just rode around in 4th, but decided, nah, I'm going to go for it. I'm not sure what that decision was, and now he comes down, almost blocks the 42. Jose Acosta gets squirrely out of the dogleg. Mills is just trying to find a way to get back in, and he finally does get back into the inside line. I think James O'Brien saw that he wasn't going to take no for an answer and just let him back in.
Yeah, that was a smart move. Now, what you're doing if you're Landon Mills right here, possibly doing, Dylan, is you're running some tests, live experiments, if you will, to see what happens. What if this was lap, 147 instead of 87, right? When do I need to pull out? Who would follow me? How good is that run? So that I know when the moment is live what I need to do.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't know until you make a reactionary call, right? By the way, for the first time all race, I can say we are single file throughout all of the lead pack. Have they gotten into the what is it, the closing action phase of the story, where we're gonna just calm it down and then we're gonna go to the climax? I don't know. The rising tension is not really there until we're around 30 more laps to go. I almost feel like this group of cars, this lineup right now, it's not time to say go yet. As the 42 gets into the wall, tried to say go, did not work for him. He's going to go down.
Man, what a difference a few laps makes. It just feels like 5 laps ago I was praising how that top lane can make it work, and Jose Acosta almost leading it, and now here we are, lap 90, and it's, yeah, you're right, it's single file for the most part. It's crazy to think how fast a race like this can change, and how fast, if you're Jose Acosta, it seems like distant memories that you were up in the top 5 a few laps ago. Now, what I can't tell, Dylan, is he content in the top lane, or is he just not able to get down from the top lane? I can't figure out which one I think is happening for Jose Acosta.
he's had opportunities to not just get down to the bottom lane, but when he's there to stay in the bottom lane, but he's decided against it. Maybe, and this is my only consideration, maybe he thinks it's saving some grip in the tires. I'm not exactly sure. So there might, there might be a gap right here if he just got off the tires or got off the gas real quickly, but now he's side drafting with Rachel Hunt. I don't know, way in the back of the screen. You can see they're still kind of single file, but they're starting to take some peeks to the contrary around the outside. We look at the 23 machine of Chad Kibbe, and goodness, what a scheme. Of course, that's the one that Kurt Busch originally drove in the real world. What a beautiful scheme that is. A lot of good schemes here in the PRL Cup Series fold on lap 93 of 150. Okay, so the farthest that these cars can go without having to stop again, if it goes green, is probably another 30 or so laps, maybe 35, 40. Of course, that doesn't get you all the way there. Maybe the last lap that we would see green flag pit stops happen on is lap 135. Again, I don't see us getting to that point. Now, the big thing to know about iRacing Atlanta Motor Speedway compared to real world Atlanta Motor Speedway is in iRacing, the pit entry line is still at, the start of pit lane. In the real world, of course, the NASCAR changed it earlier this year to make it at the entry of turn 3 is where the commitment line is, the entry line, which is not really a big deal under caution, but it is a big deal under green flag conditions. If we get to pit stops under green flag conditions, what are the chances it stays green flag conditions the entire way through? Like, why that there wouldn't be a mistake or something on pit entry?
Yeah, the pit entry, and that's a skill I talk with Terry Radford sometimes about, and that's a skill that I think a lot of us don't practice enough in iRacing, especially at a track like this. You're going to come from very high speeds to, a very low speed very quickly, and hope and pray that the guys behind you can do the same thing. I don't know. I mean, obviously the odds are it's 50-50 on if it does or doesn't, but I don't know. I would either want to go first or last. I don't want to go in the middle of that group. I'd rather be last so I could check up for it, but I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, this is how close we are, Dylan. My estimated timing shows if we stay green, we can finish this race in about 27 minutes and 19 seconds. I have us 4 minutes ahead of the clock right now. One caution, I think, and we're running on time.
Which would be wild if we're coming down to it and we're talking seconds here, and then imagine the race right as you cross the line, you don't get that extra lap because we came to time.
Yeah, I've seen that happen in league racing where you don't get that moment you thought you had. That move you want to make has to happen even sooner because of that style of clock management that you have to have here. Well, it's been a long race so far, a great race. The one thing, Dylan, I want to talk about it surprised me a little bit. We saw a lot of lead changes in the beginning of this race. A lot of different leaders, a lot of movement in that pack. But man, hasn't Lou Christian really came in and just sort of dominated the front of this pack for a while? Yeah,
Lou Christian, he qualified well. He qualified 7th. And of course, in race, he has been on top of his game, just leading a ton of laps here. And this race is 59 minutes and 40 seconds in. I believe we've got 30 minutes and around 10 seconds to go exactly. My goodness. This is looking good so far. So far.
Yeah, so far. And look at that. Even taking time to communicate with the drivers behind him or teammates, whichever it may be, but very calm, cool, and collected here. The biting the lip, that's the least embarrassing thing I would do at that camera on me. I'd be talking to myself and sticking my tongue out. It would not be pretty for any of us, Dylan.
Yeah, not at all. I don't want to show my. I mean, you can look at me on camera. I do have the setting allowed, and I wouldn't be surprised if our producers just throw me on camera just because I'm talking about it. I did my hair too, so kind of upset if I'm not shown. But anyway,
Fancy day.
yeah, this Lou Christian, of course, is racing with all the intent in the world. Now, it doesn't matter how much time you spend in the lead, because if you are not in the lead the very last moment of this race, on the final corner, the final run to that start-finish line, then it doesn't matter. Last night in the Xfinity Series race at Atlanta, all John Hunter Nemechek needed was 2 or 3 laps in the lead, and he won it. Justin Haley had around 80 laps in the lead, and he finished 4th. So sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles, as they say. This race is getting to the point where the nerves are desperately starting to come out here with 48 to go as we enter into turn 3.
Once again, we're seeing Chris Hudson, as he has all night long, drift that corner and making that move. You got to think he's now making the plans for when he makes that move and how he makes it. I come back on board both in car and in room with Chris here. I'm being a little stalker, so that's a nice photo up on the wall. I can't tell what that is. That's a nice racing photo there for his sim room.
It is a wonderful one. It almost looks like Riverside. Like, maybe I'm wildly off and I'm just saying that from the background, but looks like an old 80s race at Riverside. Nonetheless, what I've been surprised about is how calm things have gotten. But you know why they've gotten calm? It's because look at, we currently see the intervals. Do you see that interval from 9th to 8th, from Brandon Walter to TJ Bartel? It's 2 seconds almost. And that means that the gaps between these packs have really widened out. We see a lot of cars with damage, only 26 cars on the lead lap, and there's a lot of small packs. From 16th on back, there's like 3-4 car packs. From 9th to 15th, it's kind of a second and a half between everybody, and then everyone's within a second in the top 8. So it's a lot safer than it was earlier, but there's fewer drivers that have a chance of winning this race if it stays green the rest of the way. We are at 44 to go. We went green on lap 63. So what does that mean? That means we've been racing for around 42 laps of green flag action. Actually, 44, I should say. 45. Let's throw a 45, because that's what it actually is. That's around, give or take, 68 miles on one tank of fuel. How much more can they go?
Well, yeah, that's the question. But the question is, how much do you want to go? Listen, right now, if you're liking how the car is feeling, if you think it has the right amount of fuel in it, or the tires feel good after 40-some laps, you're at the halfway point right here. Sometimes as a driver, you like dealing with simple math, simple numbers. Breaking it in half feels good, right? Maybe you come down now, you break it in half, you come out with a couple teammates, you draft back to the front, and that's what you do. How long can they go? I suspect we got another 15, 20 laps in us before pitting becomes a question under green. That's my prediction. It's been 49 laps since our last pit stop, including the caution laps. So I'm gonna say we got another 15 to 20 laps in us, I think, before it becomes a conversation.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. And then the next question is, do you even want to go into pit lane? Oh, we're seeing Chris Hudson. Chris Hudson is going into the pits this lap. Speak about that. From P2, everyone's pitting. They're going in. This is the lap. So talk about the devil. Lou Christian going in. Cars going around. Now, here's the thing that could happen as the 43 gets hit by the 3 going into pit road. I don't think there's really much damage at all, but I wonder if there are some violations of speed. So here's the big thing to just keep in your head. With all these pit entries being right at the very last second, they're going from 170 miles per hour to nothing. Some of them getting tires. I don't think all of them are going to get tires. Who's going to get caught a lap down?
All of them.
If there's a caution. That's the thing. A few of them have stayed out. Who we're currently seeing staying out, of course, Brandon Walter, Charles Sumner. Those are your top 2. Mike Witt is in front of them, but he's 8 laps down. Jose Acosta as well. Abner Acosta, Tristan Callahan, and Wayne Grass. Oh, this is...
Yeah, you hit the big point. You hit the big point, Dylan, which is now those guys are hoping it stays green, right? If it goes yellow, they're going to be a lap down. They'll likely get waved by because everyone else will pit.
Right.
But they'll start in the back of the field on the restart and have to work their way through. So the only thing that can benefit them now is this stays green long enough, everyone to pit, and to have a natural cycle back around the front here. Wow, this is I mentioned it could happen, but you had kind of talked me out of it. I was thinking, you're right, they'll probably just max it out. But no, these guys came in and split it almost in half perfectly.
Yeah, that was a little bit surprising. I didn't necessarily expect that as we see some brash moves happening right behind Luke Christian in the 21 machine. Eric Papineau not happy about something. John Jones apparently to Papineau did not call that he was going in, but Jones says that he did. Papineau, I mean, look at all the, this could bring out some yellows if these drivers are not handling it on the grass. I mean, this is just chaos. There's stuff happening everywhere, and this is exactly what all the drivers who pitted already are worried about.
And I think some of that was a case of just missing the pit road entrance, Dylan. I think a couple of drivers missed the entrance, kind of went wide, and then other people just sort of reacted to that movement is what it looked like from the back of that camera shot. And as we said, that's a hard pit road to hit, coming from full speed to basically no speed in a matter of seconds. So there will be some there could be some black flags there, depending upon when drivers touched grass versus pit road entrance. I'll have to keep an eye on that.
All right, so who stayed out? I know Eric Papineau has stayed out. Ryan Dixon, I believe, as well as Wayne Grass, Tristan Callahan, and Abner Acosta, who currently is the leader of this race, who's still in the lead lap. Oh, what's happening?
That's the replay of what we saw in the back of that camera shot. So
that
Jose Acosta just got in the back, yeah.
And that's huge, of course. Jose Acosta, one of the drivers that was racing for the win in this race.
Yeah, so I was completely wrong. There was no missed pit stop there. That was just a bump in the corner that led to a little bit of chaos. Wow.
And of course, Jose Acosta just a couple points in front of Landon Mills for third in the driver's standings. Still has time to catch up to Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkel. This would have been the race to do it, but that's a lot of damage. And so Abner Acosta. Now, by the way, Abner Acosta, who is the leader of this race, is now getting swarmed by all the rest of the cars who were a lap down, and they have unlapped themselves. That's a big note to keep track of. This lead pack of cars is both the lead pack in the who will be in the lead once the rest of the cars pit, and who has stayed out and maintained the lead. Now, only 3 cars have not pitted at this point. And now Papineau is going in. So 2 cars, Callahan and Acosta. How far can they run?
I think I have them like another 10 laps, I think, is where I'm projecting this to end up. That's how far you can run. I mean, right now, 20 minutes and 16. I still have us 4 minutes to the good on the clock. So, I think at this point, they're hoping for a yellow, Dylan. They're hoping for a yellow to equalize this field, to maybe get more people to pit with them, and to have a shot. Because right now, if you pit later in this run, I mean, I don't see how you stay with that lead pack when you pit out here. I don't think it's possible.
Well, if a caution came out now, then of course Acosta and Callahan would pit, of course, under caution. It would only be shuffled back to 9th and 10th. So the longer they stay out, the more they dig themselves, you know, into this hole where they've got to wait it out. They've got to keep cars a lap down because they pit, and that would almost be it. Now, the longer we go, I don't think we're going to see the same thing as 18 laps until you change into one fresh set of tires to another set of fresh tires. The clock is back up. So 19 minutes left, but at the same time, we're at 30 laps left, which is around 15 minutes. We're doing pretty well now on time. And of course, knock on wood, that could change in the blink of an eye.
So the other thing that Abner Acosta and Trent Callahan are doing, though, Dylan, the more laps you turn here, the less fuel you need. Well, I guess the same fuel, but you're hoping to put less fuel in the car on that pit stop. There'll be no tires for these guys, I can tell you that. Unless I'm well off base. There's no way those guys take tires. They're going to put the minimal amount of fuel in, and their hope is that their delta from line to line from pit road will let them drift back in either just in front or behind the guys that just unlap themselves. But the more laps that go on and the bigger gap that forms, pardon me, the less likely that becomes.
There's just a lot of circumstances at play here. Trying to see when the last time Callahan specifically went down pit road.
I show it as 63 laps ago, 64 laps ago.
Oh, hello. I'm here. We are on screen right now, but I guess I got my wish. There
you go, Dylan.
We got
called out the.
I did.
The producer.
We got the Colleague Racing flag in the background. I'm really hoping that the Cup race comes off the red flag and we get back to green flag racing. By the way, the NASCAR, the race that's actually happening right now in Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. That would be awesome if we can get back to racing because AJ Allmendinger's in 4th. Just saying. Anyway, Callahan did go into the pits on lap 60. So, being that we are definitely not on lap 60, we are on lap 125. That's 90 laps he's hoping to go, which is 135. Yeah, Callahan is going in the pits now.
That's not happening.
But he's on the outside. So, how is that going to work?
Well, it's not going to. I can tell you that. Especially if there's someone on the inside, that's not going to work here.
He's coming down to the inside now. He got down to the inside safely. Abner Acosta also is going to go down the pit road. Callahan, he overcooked it. Is he going to get it down to speed? I think so. So, everyone that needed to pit has pitted with 25 laps to go. The leader of this race is going to be Luke Christian. Right in behind is Chris Hudson. Yes, we're back to this group. This pack has been racing with each other for a long time. And when I say pack, I really don't mean that many cars at all. There's what? 8 cars, 9 cars in this pack, and not all of them I think are not all of them are on the same lap. Actually, 5 cars, the 6 cars trailing in the back were a lap down and actually are going to remain a lap down. So this is a mix of the first car's a lap down. I should say not the first car. So this is not, yes, hold on. The times are getting reset. We might have a lucky dog battle and a battle for the lead of this race.
Oh yeah,
happening in the same pack.
By the way, I want to say real quick, I don't know if you caught it in the corner of your eye, the pit stop times for Abner Acosta and Trent Callahan were not that quick. Did they take tires? I can't imagine they did, but their pit stop times are not exactly short. I thought they would have been splash and goes. I'm flabbergasted. Oh my gosh, it is 4 tires.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point, they already lost so much time that what's putting a few more seconds onto it in the hopes that you go under caution and then maybe have a chance to, to fight back with fresher sets of tires. Not that it would exactly make a big difference, but, it could be the difference between first and second or another spot, because, really looking on track right now, the gap to the leaders is so large for them that didn't really matter one or two spots, I guess, in their minds. Anyway, we're watching live pictures with 21 laps to go here, and we can get more of an accurate reading that the top 6 in this pack are also the top 6 in the race. And then the next 6, so this is a pack of 12, the top 6 in this pack are the 6 leaders. The next 6 in this pack are the first cars a lap down. This is a battle for not just the lead of this race with 20 laps to go, but this is also a battle for the lucky dog.
That's crazy to think about the implications that this could have. The implications, not hoping for, but the implications a wreck could have right here about who's your leader, who's your lucky dog, and when does it come out. That's close.
And to add on to that, the pack that this lead pack is chasing and is just around 3 seconds ahead of is Maverick Davis, Brian Dixon, Wayne Grass, and Tristan Callahan, as well as Robert Gamble. Gamble's 3 laps down, but the 4 aforementioned are currently the last cars on the lead lap. So if the cars right now fighting in the lead pack, in the back of the lead pack, are fighting for the lucky dog, they're hoping that their pack does not catch up to the 5 or 6 cars that are in the pack in front of them, because then they'd have to try and fight with the leaders to get back. This is just wild. The other thing you have to keep in mind that it's not just a fight for the lucky dog. If you make your way up and past the leader and lead this pack, you're not a lap down anymore, and you're on the lead lap. So many things. It's getting complicated here with all these packs separated, and really only 6 cars in contention for the win in this race. Landon Mills will get out of shape and out of line, and that's really going to hurt his chances. He was 6th in the pack and, of course, 6th in the race. Right now, though, he is behind Eric Haag, who has the outside line. He looked at it for a second. He is the lucky dog holder right now with 17 to go, coming to 16 at the line.
Yeah, it's a crazy race. Earlier we talked about how this race was crazy and how people could end up in the front who we don't always see. Let me read you a list real quick, Dylan. Number 1, Trent Dinkel. Number 2, Abner Acosta. Number 3, Jose Acosta. Number 4, Landon Mills. Number 5, Maverick Davis. Those were your top 5 in points coming into tonight. Only one of them, Landon Mills, in 6th. I believe is in our top 10 right now. If you go down that list, Pat Harvey, James O'Brien, Robert Besaw, Josh Daniels, and Waldo Walden. The top 10 in points are going to massively shake up if it stays as it looks right now.
This is getting intense here. Well, it's been intense. It's just getting a little bit more intense as the laps dwindle down. The pack ahead of this lead pack has definitely gotten, it's gone away a little bit. They're faster than the leaders if they stay single file.
Yeah, if they stay single file. That's the biggest word. Only 2 letters, but a massive word. If they stay single file, it could be calm and easy and, a simple race. But I don't think they're going to stay single file.
Not for long, at least.
No. Now, right now, here we are. We're lap 137, about to start 138 of 150. As we said, we're going to finish this on laps unless something weird happens. If you're a Chris Hudson, if you're a Robert Besaw, if you're a Bruno Mello or a Pat Harvey, you have to start testing the waters, Dylan. You have to start talking to each other somehow. I know what you got to do, or you got to move out of lane, see what you can make happen. You need to know when to make that move to get around Lou Christian, and hope that Lou Christian doesn't read your move and try and block it.
There's just so many potential things. Like, when do you pull out a line? Will somebody come with you? I mean, I don't know. This has been this top 3 has been the top 3 for the whole race. Christian, no wins in the PRL Cup Series. Chris Hudson, 1 win. Robert Beasall Jr., 3. Actually, if you want to keep, I'm sorry to cut you off, but to keep going down, Mello, Harvey, and Mills have no wins either.
Yeah, so we're looking for a first-time winner, and when you're a first-time winner in a PRL league, even in an NIS or an iRacing official race, you get amped up at this moment. Your heart starts beating a little faster. You start biting that lip a little harder. You know, the nerves kick in right about now, I think, is when they kick in, when you're up here and you start to talk to yourself, okay, keep calm. You know, you start to make that game plan of when the move is going to happen. And those nerves and that jitteriness of the hands is not a good thing in a moment like this. There's Landon Mills, of course, part of the team. Part of that team that does competition at a high level. Yeah, right? Just the team.
So we've got 10 laps to go. Top 5 are in line here with Bruno, Mello, and Pat Harvey, kind of the 4th and 5th cars in this line right now. The real question is, which part of the pack starts fighting first? Because it's almost an accordion effect of just potential of the considerations that could happen. Where the top 6, they're fighting for the win. If they fight too hard or wreck, then the next 6 are fighting for that way to get back onto the lead lap. And there are not too many cars left on the lead lap. How much will it matter at this point to get that lucky dog status? And if we go to overtime, do we even have enough time to finish this race? We've got 8 laps to go here. I think we've got like 10 minutes left in the race. So it would really be pushing it. Luke Christian still in the lead. When does Chris Hudson want to pull out of line? Gave a little bit of a shimmy and a shake here as the pack in front gets a little bit farther away in the windshields. Hudson goes to the outside line, wants to see if Beasall Jr. will go with him. He does not do that, though, at the moment, but a big run and just gets off the throttle ever so slightly. Christian was lucky there to not get swamped down the inside.
And the big thing that's happening, I noticed right here, I think at least the top 5, if not the top 10, in PRL, we make a big deal about the teams, and we should. I mean, as a negative. You have you have the Precision League Esports. You have, Private Label. You have Whataback who races throughout PRL. You have Love. You have all these, all these teams. There's not teammates up here, by the way, Dylan. I think these guys are all different teams. There's no team advantages happening here. There's no team strategies. This is all every man for himself.
Well, the other thing that you you brought up earlier about manufacturer teamwork, and again, I don't think we're going to see any of that here in this race, but 2nd and 3rd, Hudson and Beasall Jr. are both Fords, while 1st and 4th and Christian and Mello are Chevys, with Pat Harvey in the Toyota, the lone Toyota of the top 5. Landon Mills has gotten back into this discussion, and Mills gave a little bit of a shove to Harvey, got him unsettled, but we keep going with 5 laps to go here. Harvey says, all good. It's just how we're racing to the finish. Beasall Jr. pulls out a line, wants to see if anyone goes with him. No one goes with him. He goes down back to the inside. There's still single file as we round 3 and 4. Coming to 4 to go at the line.
Now, and of course, at Daytona and Talladega, pardon me, we always talk about that last lap being the moment where you make the move.
Mills is making a move. Long. See, let's talk about not waiting that long. Mills goes to the outside. Has no help, though. Is someone from the back going to go to the outside? Saw a little bit of smoke there. Might have been something happening a little bit farther up in this field. Nonetheless, Mills goes back to the inside. Did not have any help at all. We're coming down to 3 laps to go here at the line. No one has made a move and stuck with it yet. But now Harvey goes down to the inside. Is there room to go down to the inside and go past Bruno Mello? No. Still half a car length of space between the apron and the track, or in the cars that are on track right now. Not giving an inch. They're right down to the red and white line down the backstretch. coming to 2 to go as they get through corners 3 and 4 here.
But look at the difference here. I see. Look at Chris Hudson. There's a gap between him and first place. That gap did not exist 10 laps ago, Dylan. I think he's plotting to see if he can back up his car and make a move. He's leaving a gap at certain points. Look at that gap right there.
Okay, accordion effect. Big accordion effect. Mills going to try and take advantage of it on the outside line. The 8 car is coming with him. Skip Gandy. And now there's some separation from 3rd on back to 4th. Harvey giving Bruno Mello a big shove into 3 and 4, coming to the white line, or to the white flag at the line. Luke Christian gets really far out in front. I think that's going to help Hudson and Beasol Jr. Big run coming for Hudson. White flag in the air. Does he go to the outside? He's right up against the rear bumper of Luke Christian. Pat Harvey goes down to the inside. Mills tried to make a move too early. The 78 goes with him. It's not going to be anything. It's a battle between the top 3 now. Hudson looks to the outside, still stays in line, but he gets a push from Beasol Jr. I think Christian, this is going to be his race unless there's a big move from Hudson at the end. Side by side at the line, Christian wins it.
Wow. I didn't think it would be that close. Wow.
Domination from Luke Christian, and everyone else waited way too long and wouldn't commit to help each other. And that's how this race ends. And see the tension just completely roll off Christian's shoulders. No more stress, just smiles.
Sometimes the way you win is your opponents can't figure out a game plan to beat you. You just sort of drive on. What a great move by Luke Christian. Just stuck to his guns and waited to see what would happen. Go burn it down, my man. You deserve it.
We had 3 minutes and 42 seconds left, I believe, before the race would have been called official due to that 1 hour, 30-minute time limit. A little tug of the shirt, get all the sweat rolled off. And here are your race results as they're loading up from Atlanta Motor Speedway. 150 laps. Luke Christian, Chris Hudson, the teammates finished 1 and 2. Robert Beasol Jr. in 3rd, and another teammate of the top 2, Pat Harvey, in 4th. You know, maybe that was a reason they didn't want to make too many moves on each other. Always want to be teammates at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Continuing down, Landon Mills and Bruno Mello. That lead pack, top 6. Brandon Walter, who made that call early in the race to stay out on lap 18, which turned out to be the right move, was leading the secondary pack. James O'Brien, Jeff Chandler, Jose Medina, your top 10. Top 18 were on the lead lap. Rachel Hunt, Brian Dixon, Tristan Callahan, Abner Acosta, Maverick Day, 15th for number. Acosta running right up front the entirety of the race. He's going to be upset with that. Finish, Tom Macy, Skip Gandy, your top 20. They were a lap down as well. Papineau, Kibbe, Hag, Walden, Jones, Daniels, Gamble, Moore, Sumner, and Witt. We're starting to get to the many laps down. McDonald, Calgill, Easterday, Trent Dinkle, championship leader, out just 20 laps into that one. And Richard Pruitt, who said, yeah, 5 laps is enough for me. I'm going to go home. Fastest lap, 29.557 by Pat Harvey on lap 119. What a race. I think we've got some drivers waiting to be talked to right now. And actually, why not we just start pulling in the drivers. Chris Hudson. Let's get him in to talk with the one and only Derek Watson as well. Hudson finished, of course, in 2nd place.
Chris, what a run tonight. P2 when it's all said and done. See you stand the results there. So talk me through the last couple of laps. What was it like out there?
Yeah, it was a good night. I was super happy with that P2. Our team, SGE Sports, just absolutely killed it with our setup and our strategy. Up there with Lou and Rob, I think we really had a good setup there. I was really good at pushing, and Lou knew where to put the car, and Rob was, giving us that extra boost when we needed it. So yeah, I knew I saw the outside line coming several times, and we were just able to just, bear down and keep them out there. So yeah, great result. We're really happy. Huge team points and everything. So it's a good night.
So we saw you wait till literally out of turn 4 last lap to try to make a move. So if you could go back in time 3 minutes, would you have waited till then again, or do you think it should have happened sooner, or do you just think it wasn't possible?
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking about that as we were coming to the final laps, and I was kind of trying to go a little bit higher, and then I was going to kind of try to dive down. I thought I'd have enough momentum just off of 4 to get them there at the end on the outside, but I think I just ran it a little bit too high there and just wasn't able to get the energy I needed to get over past his front bumper. So maybe a little bit earlier next time, but still, you can't complain about P2.
Fair enough. So now we're into that oval part of the schedule. You got New Hampshire coming, Pocono, Michigan, Richmond, a couple others. Which one of these are you looking forward to as your big points race?
I love Pocono. I think Pocono is just such an interesting track. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of variation. Every corner is different. So it's tricky, but I do like that track a lot. So that's probably the one I'm looking forward to most. So yeah. Hopefully we can keep putting in these good results here too, and see what we can do about the championship.
All right. Well, Chris, before we let you go tonight, anyone you want to thank or say hello to?
Yeah, so, as always, hi, Mom and Dad. Just they want to say hi to them, and just thanks a lot to SG Esports. We've, I've joined them this season, and it's been a great team, and it's a lot of fun racing in and out each week. And obviously, PRL has been an amazing league. I love racing here, and you guys, great job on the broadcast. We always love tuning in every week. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, no, thank you all, and looking forward to the next one.
Indeed, we are. Well, good job tonight, Dylan. That is Chris Hudson in the 43 machine. He finished P2 tonight at Atlanta.
Well, let's continue working our way up to Lou Christian, teammate of Chris Hudson. Lou got his first win. There have been 240 races in PRL Sunday Cup Series history, and that 240th race was the first win for Lou Christian. Lou, how you feeling, man? Congrats.
Man, that was awesome. I am so tense right now. My goodness. That was awesome. So, couldn't done it without my teammates back there, though. My goodness. Chris was spot on every lap. I made so many mistakes leading, and Chris did not turn me or do anything wrong back there. So, had all the SGA teammates behind me, and that was awesome.
It was kind of sorry to cut you off there, but it was kind of it was nice to see that that sportsmanship the entirety of the run between everybody there in the top 4, because I know B-Sol Jr. not technically part of your specific team, but you kind of all are affiliated with each other in one way or another. So just kind of clean racing. And did you feel like it was going to be that way up to the very end, like it was?
I thought somebody might make a move. I think we had a couple of guys that weren't on SG affiliation back there. I thought they were going to give a high line, but yeah, we had got into a little trouble with somebody there at the beginning of the race. Didn't mean to do that, but after that, it was pretty clean, I felt like. But yeah, went good. We're all good teammates back there for sure.
So obviously this is going to give you quite the bump in the standings with Trent Dinkle. This is going to definitely be a drop week for him. Obviously you're quite a ways back from him, but you're not far back from potentially breaking into the top 5. This was the only super speedway of the season. You feel like you can continue to compete on the other types of tracks we go to?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely had top 10 cars the last 3 weeks, and just make stupid mistakes at those road courses. Definitely have top 10 speed there, and just hitting lax and hitting walls and sand at Sonoma. It was just pitiful. So, yeah, this will definitely help to lock me into the playoffs, thank goodness, and give a little boost there. Nowhere near Trent Dinkle, though. I don't know if I'm making it up that far.
Well, congratulations on the win, Lou. I'm sure you're going to be celebrating tonight in due.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks RaceSpot. Thanks PRL.
That was Lou Christian. I mean, getting that first win must feel absolutely incredible. Derek, I'm going to have you end our interview with the podium winners with Rob Esau.
All right, well, we're here with the man who finished tonight in that number 3 machine. Robert Besaw came into tonight 8th in points, and with both Trent Dinkle and Abner having some rough nights, Robert, I think you made some big moves in your point standing.
Yeah, hopefully. If I'm in 8th, I'm surprised. I mean, I've had an okay season, but anywhere closer to the top 10, a good finish was much needed tonight.
So you were up front at the end with your SGE esports teammates, and what was your plan? Were you just happy to be in 3rd and wanted to finish there? Did you want to make a move? Did you run out of time? Walk us through it.
I was happy to be where I was. Yeah, it was a team race tonight. That's all it was. You needed a lot of help, a lot of teammates, and fortunately we were all up there. I'm happier at times to see my teammates get wins, finish well. I've gotten wins before, but I love it when the teammates can come through and get that stuff. So I was very much pleased to be where I was. If I could have gotten a better run, and maybe I would have tried to get upside Chris, but I'll take 3rd. Yeah, I'm just glad the setup. This is our spring setup, which was super fast in the spring. I know Dirty South had a great race there, but they were getting pushed by one of our cars, and without getting trapped in the caution flag, we would have maybe won that race too. So glad we can come back and actually show what the setup could do.
Nice. So I know a thread of a storyline we were running up in the booth was number of laps left versus the time on the clock. Was that a thought in your head? Did you know it was going to finish on laps? Was that a factor at all?
We were talking about it, right? We all try to do those quick calculations, which seem to never work out at times. But yeah, we did some rough math and thought that we were going to be able to get it in without another caution. So we kind of just put it in the back of our minds. The one thing we're worrying about is actually when to pit. Having that many laps left, you stretch it out to try to go with just 20. We just kind of factored in you're losing 0.6 a lap, so we figured let's pit 20 laps early. We're going to pick up 6 to 0.4 a lap, and those guys, that's going to put them farther behind us. So that's why we pitted about 120 when we did.
That makes sense. Well, listen, good job tonight, and good luck the rest of the season. We'll see you next week.
Great, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.
That is Robert Besaw. He finished 3rd tonight, Dylan, behind his SGE esports teammates.
Ton of fun watching this race tonight. Why don't you join us next Sunday night as well as we go to the Magic Mile, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, same time, same day of the week. Gonna be fun. Hopefully I'm there with you. Just as long as it doesn't rain on Saturday and pushing the Xfinity Series race back to Sunday, I'll be with you guys. Derek, I know that you were filling in for Terry Radford, and it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun doing this broadcast with you. Hope to do it again sometime soon. Terry will rejoin us next Sunday, and for Derek and myself, Dylan Coyle, I want to wish you all a pleasant good evening. Lou Christian wins at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll be back next week.